Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. And yes, I know we're right off the heels of Thanksgiving Day. If you happen to celebrate that holiday here in the US, I know my belly's full of Thanksgiving turkey right about now though, but considering the day and stuff, and I know it's just a kickstart for Black Friday and stuff, and you're probably going through and finding a lot of great deals and stuff. So I was just thinking, in terms of today's video, I thought it'd just be a little bit more of a relaxful, just kind of take it as you will kind of video, because if you go back and look at Nintendo's handheld systems, one of them happen to have a big major birthday. And yes, I am referring to the Nintendo DS, because believe it or not, this system is 20 years old as of last week. And I was like, what on earth? I don't even know where half of the time has managed to go through and fly by. But man, oh man, that is crazy to believe that this system is 20 years old. I still remember the day whenever I originally got this. It was either for my birthday or Christmas or something like that, all those years ago. So I figured in today's video, I might as well just go ahead and give all my thoughts and reflections, or kind of like a retrospective for the Nintendo DS, and just kind of showcase off basically almost every single one of my DS games. So this is going to be a really casual video, so I hope you really enjoy this one though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. The Nintendo DS. It's crazy to believe that this system is already over 20 years old. Technically, you can say that this is a retro system, which is honestly crazy in itself to even think about that. This kind of shows a testament of like how much older I'm getting though, because I think, well, at this time, 20 years ago from today, I was like 8 years old. Roughly whenever this system came out. I was like, what on earth though? So yeah, in terms of DS's, this was my original DS. I had never departed from this sucker. And this is the same one that I had whenever it first came out, because I think the Fat DS model, it was on the market for like at least the first 2.5 years or so on the market, while it was just that before they introduced the Nintendo DS Lite. So I was like, oh, okay. And I remember because at the time when my parents got me this, I had a Game Boy Advance SP, same color like this, but it was silver. And I loved the heck out of that mess. I got to play games such as Fire Red, Pokemon Emerald, the list kind of goes on and on with the GBA games, Donkey Kong Country 2, etc. And whenever they first gave me this, it's either for my birthday or my Christmas. I'm not sure exactly which one. But regardless, I remember my mom giving me this, and she was like, hey, you know what, this is your gift for one of those two different occasions. And I was worried because I was like, wait a minute, how am I going to play my Game Boy Advance games? Because I was like, I was cool with having this though. But then my mom said, we want to give your Game Boy Advance SP to your brother. And I was like, hold on a gosh dang minute though. As much as I like this game system and stuff, I need my Game Boy Advance SP over here though. And then they're like, no, don't worry, because we got down here the little cartridge spot where you can still play your GBA SP games and such on the system. And then once I learned about that, I was like, I really didn't want to depart from that system, but I'll go ahead and take this and I'll hand down my other system to my brother. I did manage to get it back though years later though. It's like it's in my collection downstairs though, so thankfully I'm all good now. But back then I was a little worried as a kid though. But man, oh man, this system, it's crazy to think, because the fact that it is a dual screen system, and it was just crazy to think at the time that you were able to go through and do things on the touch screen with the bottom screen and see things play out on that top screen though. And okay, let me go ahead and address this. I know y'all are probably looking crazy at my DS right here. Yes, this thing has gotten beat up thanks to time and me touching on that bottom screen though, because the durability on this bottom screen, it really didn't last that long, especially when you had games such as Pokemon Ranger that abused the heck out of the circling machine. I think that's what really tore into my bottom screen though. So rest assured, this thing is, resting in peace. I'm not really actively using this system anymore though. But while I'm talking about my DS and the conditions, like, yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of spots where it's like the burnout colors were right here though. And this thing was running on life support, because like, oh my gosh, like this thing was popping off the hinges. I remember back in the day when the DS, it was out for a long time. I never had the DS Lite version. That was my brother with the blue one. My sister had the DSi, and I was the very first one to ever have a DS. But I was trying to make this last as long as possible once I heard about news with the Nintendo 3DS coming out, and I was like, oh man, I really want to have that system, and I knew it was backwards compatible with the DS, but if I asked them for another DS or a DSi or something like that, I was looking at the DSi for a period of time and stuff, because you did have like those DSiWare games and stuff that was exclusive on that system versus the DS or the DS Lite. But I remember looking at it, I was like, you know what, I gotta make sure this thing lasts all the way until I can get that 3DS in my hand. So I remember sticking like cards, pieces of paper, something to get this notch just high enough to where the top screen was working. But nowadays, the only thing that works really is just the bottom screen. The top one doesn't even work no more. And I just didn't have the heart in me to actually, trash the system, because this is one of those beloved handhelds. But thankfully, I have my 3DS to play all my DS games nowadays, though. But overall, I really did love the heck out of this system. It was really cool with the technology and stuff that it was able to do at that time. One of the first systems to actually be able to use Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit more with one of my games here in a bit, though. But like, that's just crazy to think with this system, though. So there's a lot of technological advances and leaps that they managed to pull off with this system, though. So let's go ahead and look at some of my games that I have in my collection. Obviously, some of them I have the physical cases still for. Some of them I only have just the cartridges for, so you have to bear with me, though. But first one on my list, make sure this whole stack doesn't fall over, though, we got Mario Kart DS. Now, man, oh man, I love the heck out of this game, though. Yes, it was one of those games that actually took really strong advantage of the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which I remember back in the day when I was looking at that mess, and you had like your 3 different connections and stuff. I don't know if it was just me or if it was a lot of y'all out there as well. It's like you were trying to just randomly find Wi-Fi hotspots and stuff. Like, I think that was at the time when Wi-Fi connections started to get a little bit more of a stronger push. Before that, with the GBA, not really so much so. So I think at the time my parents didn't necessarily have Wi-Fi like that. I guess we were still doing stuff with like with an Ethernet port. But then I remember that day when they did, and they said, "Hey, give me your system. We'll go ahead and connect you up to the internet." Oh man, that just blew my mind. The fact that I could play a game like Mario Kart outside of just doing DS download play with my friends or my family, like my brothers and sisters that also had DSs, but be able to take that mess online and challenge anybody in the world, that was absolutely freaking insane, though. You had like really cool boss rushes and stuff like that in this game, though, and the drifting was a little weird. You have to wiggle that D-pad quite a bit, though, but I really liked and enjoyed this game, though. Next we got to talk about a couple other games. We're going to go ahead and lump these two together. Yes, I'm talking about Diamond and Platinum. Now, with both of these games, I technically already did a collection reflection video for this video in particular, though, so you can go ahead and click that card in the corner when you're done with this video if you want to see my full thoughts on this game, though. But, when you think about Nintendo handheld systems, with the DS system, you think of some Pokemon games coming to mind, though, because Diamond, especially more so with Platinum, man, oh man, there was a lot of cool stuff you're able to do in that. It was even further enhanced with the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, being able to see, be able to play against all these other players around the world with grading, like the global trade system. That was the first thing that ever popped up within these games in particular, though. It just made completing dexes or getting real cool things, shiny, legendaries, actual Japanese Pokemon with their names and stuff outside of just having standard US versions and stuff. I was like, that made all of that possible on this system. I remember just going through and just tapping the moves for the Pokemon to attack on the bottom screen and seeing all that action play out on the top. That was really nice and convenient in comparison to like Pokemon Emerald and stuff, where you had the battle moves and stuff block part of the, have the UI section block part of the Pokemon animation sprites and all that stuff, because you only had one screen to operate. But since you had two, hey, that made it really cool and really nice, though. So I really loved the heck out of that. I was about to grab for another game over here, but for some oddball reason, I can't find my copy of New Super Mario Bros. DS, so I'm just going to pop up a little image right there, though. I think my brother must have that game somewhere. I had to do some follow-up information on that one, though, because I really love the heck out of this one. For the New Super Mario Bros. Series, like, that was the first one that kick-started off the same kind of vibe that we got from the DS to the Wii one, and then by extension, what we had with the Wii U as well as the 3DS ones, though. But the DS one was a standout title because it did some things that we hadn't quite seen from like the original Mario Brothers, Mario Bros. 2, 3, and World, because it's been a return to form in some kind of ways in quite some time. And I remember going through and playing this game. I was like, oh, the fact you can play a new Super Mario Brothers game on the go, like that in itself was wild to me. I used the heck out of that multiplayer versus mode thing where it's like, oh, you can do the download play and do what was it? It's like Mario versus Luigi in terms of like collecting as many stars as possible. I think it's like first to 3 or 5 or something like that though. I remember playing that against, my cousin, my brother, my sisters, etc. though. I really enjoyed the heck out of my time play for that. And also you can't forget about the stinking mini games and stuff for that new Super Mario Brothers game though as well. Because I mean, Casino Luigi Land, that dude was on and popping. I'll say so myself. Let's see what next we got over here though. Please don't fall. All right, here we go. The Pokemon Ranger scene. So I got like Almia right here, Shadows of Almia and Guardian Signs. And I technically also have the first Pokemon Ranger, just the cartridge only, but I don't know where the heck the case went. I think for some reason, as I was growing up, being a kid and stuff, I was like, I never thought of the importance of holding on to some of these cases though. But then later on, after I maybe lost like a few of the early DS game cases and stuff, I was like, wait, I might want to hold on to these suckers because I started to appreciate box art a little bit more so. Especially, it was easier to keep up with these cases in comparison to having the GBA cases where they're just made out of like that papery, cardstocky, whatever that kind of material was though. But those Ranger games though, I said this time and time before, that's the reason why my DS got so beat up like this, was because of the capture mechanics though. I keep telling the Pokemon Company over and over and over, this was like the prime era of Pokemon spin-off games. And man, oh man, I want them to bring back the Ranger series. I don't know how they'll be able to do it with just a single screen and not being able to use the touchscreen elements though. But if Pokemon Company, if you can manage to make that mess work, please do so, because I think Shadows of Almia was my favorite out of the first 3 out of this trilogy, because they just did so much with the story. And I remember having to do the Manaphy event thing, and that's how you transfer the Manaphy egg from one of these 3 different games. The first one you used the password, the other 2 you used like a Nintendo Wi-Fi event thing, but you were able to transfer that over to your Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum games and stuff. And I remember that's how I got my Manaphy egg and such. So that was some really good stuff right there. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This one right here, I remember picking this one up when I was going through my fix of trying to get every single Fire Emblem game that's ever released here in the West. Like, I own every single one of these games now physically, and this was just one extra one to play, add to my collection. I hadn't really played this particular version all the way through, but remember Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light that released on the Nintendo Switch for a certain period of time for, I think it was the 30th anniversary. I managed to go through all of that and managed to put my hands-on experience on that. So I love the heck out of the original one. And this one, not as many people are super fond with it in terms of the sprite work, the way how the game operated and stuff. Like, people didn't necessarily like this quote-unquote remake in comparison to the original one though. Thought it was all right, but some of the sprite work isn't quite up to notch as like Fire Emblem, Blazing Blade, or Sacred Stones and stuff though. So, I'll leave that one be though, but I just like to have it in my collection. All right, so here we go. We got the Mystery Dungeon games. I had Explorers of Darkness and Explorers of Sky. Obviously I started off with this one though, and then when this game came out, I got it. The only differences between the two of them is I think it's more so with the post game. Like, they explored a lot of other avenues in terms of the story, where it's like things with Dusknoir and Grovyle, like seeing their past history, like what happened to them after they went back to the future and stuff, and then had some additional stuff with Shaman and stuff. That's the only differences really between the two of them. There were some other minor differences though, but at least with the first one I started off with, I don't think they made a single Mystery Dungeon game as good as these stories are, point blank period. Gates to Infinity, Super Mystery Dungeon, none of that mess. I don't think can ever top this, and I don't think they ever will. I would love for them to see and do more things with the Mystery Dungeon series though, but like, my goodness, like, please, like, oh man. I just want a remake of these and, just bring it up to modern consoles, and I'll just be content with my Mystery Dungeon stuff though, because some of the storyline beats that you have up in this game, they just really get you to think. I'll just kind of leave that there right there. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I remember when this series was first taken off, remember they had the DS version of this, and then they also had the Wii version as well. Like, both of those games were phenomenal, and I just remember just playing this, and this one had DS download play was coming in clutch for a lot of these games, where if a friend or a family member had a copy of the game or not. I just like the fact that you were able to use that and be able to communicate between these two different systems, because that was a wireless system. You didn't have to use the GBA link cable like how you had to do with the Game Boy Advance SPs and systems and stuff like that. So that was just one extra thing you just didn't have to worry about though. But I mean, I remember doing all the different running events up in here, the swimming events and stuff, doing the stuff with the stylus, with the secondary screen. It was just some overall really good times. It was definitely a little bit more of a watered down version compared to the console experience though, but I'm still thankful to have this on the Nintendo DS. All right, now we got to talk about some prime Pokemon games. Yes, I'm talking about White and White 2. The only thing I'm upset about this is I still have my White copy. I have no idea where my White 2 version went. And I'm still kind of upset to this day because I can't figure out exactly where I left it at though. And if you look at those prices on eBay, oh my goodness gracious, man, the prices are crazy for all these Gen 4 Pokemon games in general though. I mean, I really love the heck out of these games. And yes, it was really ambitious in terms of a DS game. The fact that you were able to go through and have all these 3D environments for a Nintendo DS game, which, you know, it could do a little bit of 3D, but it wasn't really known to do a lot of 3D. Like, I guess technically, like what you had Mario 64 for the DS that kind of showed how that worked though, but with the D-pad and not an analog stick like what you had in the Nintendo 64 back in the day though, kind of, you know, it wasn't quite a one-to-one feel though. But with the way how they incorporated within this DS game though, that was crazy. Like, remember, they allowed you were able to get berries and White and White 2, but you had to use a weird old website or something like that and then send it to your DS. Like, having website connectivity as an actual website that you're pulling up on a computer and then working it into your DS, that was kind of wild to do stuff like within that dream world, I think is what it was called though. I love the legendaries, I love the catching mechanics and stuff. Like, they had so many new Pokemon up in this game as well though. Honestly, that brought a lot of great stuff to the table right here. SpongeBob, the Yellow Avenger, so I'll pop a card up right there. And then I also had Avatar: The Last Airbender on the DS, same thing, card right there. But man, oh man, these two games right here, I thoroughly enjoyed them for the most part though. They were pretty cool and stuff in terms of being third-party games. I hope that there's like a really great Avatar: The Last Airbender game that comes out maybe some point on the Switch or Switch 2 at some point though. But I feel like we need a big old AAA experience with that. And SpongeBob games, you can never go wrong with on that one. Thoroughly enjoyed my time, at least for the most part, on that. And then lastly, I think the very last game I had was none other than Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. I just did a collection reflection video on that one as well, so you can check that one out as soon as you're done with this video as well. But you talking about some good RPGs up in here. We had some decent good ones on the DS in terms of RPGs though, but like this one was it for me. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit scared about it whenever I first got the game, so much I shoved it off to my brother though. But then later on, I came full circle on it, got the game back, played through it. Not close to beating it. That final boss is like really rough though. I actually did enjoy my time with that one though. So honestly, like that was all of my Nintendo DS games that I could personally remember me owning as I owned this system while I was growing up. And man, that was just scratching the surface. Granted, I wasn't old enough to make my own money at the time, so I was only dependent on getting all these different games based upon, you know, if it was my birthday or my Christmas. But that's how I had most of my games though. Now, obviously there's a lot of other crazy games out there. There's certain ones I didn't own, like Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, the Castlevania games, etc. though. So overall, I love and adore this Nintendo DS system. It was able to do and accomplish so many different things in terms of wireless capabilities. The fact it had a touchscreen, which that was like well before, you know, iPhones became a thing, smartphones in general, where they had a touchscreen. This is one of those systems where Nintendo was kind of out ahead of the curve, and a lot of other companies had to kind of catch up and stuff in terms of like just crazy things that you're able to do within a handheld system that you just weren't able to do up until that point in time though. I mean, Nintendo's like one of the king in terms of handheld systems though, but out of everything they released, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, or even 3DS, and halfway with the Switch since it's a hybrid system though, I think this is like one of the most breakout handheld systems that Nintendo has ever did in terms of its innovation, because you can't just beat being able to have Nintendo Wi-Fi for the first time, having a purely wireless system. You don't have to worry about a bunch of cables and such in terms of being able to play games that were multiplayer. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on and on, but I would love to hear all your thoughts down in the comment section down below. With this being a 20-year-old system, if you have any fond memories with the Nintendo DS or any of your favorite games, because the library for this system was freaking massive, and that is Oh my gosh, that's nothing to scoff at right there, though, because like I only had a handful of games. I imagine a lot of other people out there probably have a whole lot more games. So y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of this video for the Nintendo DS 20th retrospective. So if you really like this video, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember, y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.